So now let's look at actually composing a trap melody. And first and foremost, I don't want to have anyone do this blindly or randomly. And we're going to go over some music theory, specifically scales and scale structure, and how that comes into creation of our trap melodies. Now, if we want to go to our trap melody FLP, we can open that. And I simply created the C major scale. Well, let's just play it real quick. Okay, so that's the C major scale. Pretty straightforward. No sharps or flats. And what we're going to be doing is taking a look at which intervals create which specific sounds. So the first note right here, we have 8 notes in total. We have our first note, which is the C5 in this example, which is our root position note. We have our second degree, which is our supertonic. Our third note is our median note. Our fourth is our subdominant note. Our fifth is our dominant. Sixth is our submedian. Seventh is our subtonic. And our eighth is our tonic, which is an octave. And it just repeats back and matches this particular tone just at a higher frequency. Now, what does that all mean? Essentially, these notes vary in frequencies in between each half and whole step, or between each semitone and whole tone. Now, what that means for trap music specifically is that a half step really makes all the difference in the sound, simply because the half step change in any key, regardless if it's C major, C minor, what have you, causes a dramatic shift musically for the listener's ear. And what we're going to do to create a trap scale, so to speak, is change our third and fourth tones, our median and our subdominant. And I'm going to go over to our trap melody pattern. So when we look at our trap melody pattern right here, I've changed the semitones or half steps for our third and fourth notes. So instead of being an E here, I simply moved it up to a F. So I went up a half step. And then for the F here, that was here originally, I raised it up to F sharp. Now let's play the scale. Okay. Now, that sounds a little bit on the mysterious range, which is what we want to have for trap melodies, is that we want to have an intrigue, so to speak. Now we're just going to create a simple melody using quarter notes. This is just an example pattern that we're going to really incorporate. So if you want to start alongside with me, we can create a trap melody pattern. Now we can just simply go to our pattern mode, insert one, and we can name it trap practice. But you can name it whatever you like. But we can just say trap practice melody. We click our checkbox here. Now we want to focus on, if we go back to our pattern here, under trap melody C major, what we want to do is focus on our third and fourth interval notes, which are F and F sharp. And what we really need is a variation and have a starting pitch amongst the C, F, and F sharp. We need a combination of those three notes. And we're going to be playing a simple pattern. We're going to make it a 4-bar melody. And let's just focus and remember that we have our C, F, F sharp, and G, and A, and B, and C, but our 3 and D. But our primary notes that we want to focus on are C, F, and F sharp. So how do we get that incorporated into an arpeggio format? Well, let's get started with that. So we have our arpeggio format that we can do, and we're going to use stretch out our note, and we hold on to this note, make sure that we get to our arrow indicator, and we just stretch this note out. We want to have our C, and then we can build this up to a more mysterious and intriguing sound. So we go straight for our F, F sharp. Let's just scroll in a little bit so we can look at the finer tool. And then let's add a second interval. So let's just take a listen very quickly. Okay, that sounds interesting. So we have our root position, our immediate third and fourth intervals are already giving us a bit of a mysterious sound. So that's just the first idea. We want to create a question. So we do a Control A and stretch this out over our second measure and copy it. And then we can continue to ask that question on our third measure, but let's change the interval. So instead of C, F sharp, let's change it to F sharp, F. And then instead of our second interval being the fourth beat in our third measure, we can perhaps add another F sharp. Let's listen again. Okay, now let's add some movement to our third measure. Now let's do a chop. Let's cut this to eighths. We go to chop. There we go. We have our eighths. Or we could do a little variation, a subdivision of that to 16th. So we just move that down, move our slider down on our time mall. Now we can give this more of a classical feel. Now let's listen. Our final musical notations here. So we can go back to our F sharp and make this a descending pattern. So we're just still going back to now using our quarter notes, F sharp to F to D to C. Now that is quite an answer that's being provided to the original first two measures. Let's listen finally. Now that's just a slight variation that we did from the third and fourth measures. And this is using the same notation tools that we learned in our simple notation input module. We're taking our quarter notes and simply dividing them